Hello and welcome to another episode of It Never Ends. I am Andrew. Over there is my good buddy Alex. How you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I already asked you how you're doing. You said you're doing all right.
Exactly.
Okay.
We got some stuff to talk about. We'll start with the smaller one with the Oblivion remake. How do you feel about the Oblivion remake?
The smaller one.
Smaller one in my mind.
I mean, yeah. I think it's fantastic. It's obviously a much needed, beautiful update to the original game. And I find it cool that they just came out and shadow dropped it. Obviously, people were theorizing they were been doing it for a long time, but for a company like Xbox, it feels weird for them to just come out and be like, hey, this exists and you can play it right now, today.
Right? It's big.
I don't know. I like Oblivion, so that's awesome.
It's nice to actually see a game that should get a remake.
The fact that they're not just remaking a 4-year-old game or Skyrim again.
Pretty much.
It's newer than The Last of Us Part 2 or Days Gone or Horizon Zero Dawn.
Last of Us Part 2, looking at that. I don't know, anything Sony's been doing recently when it comes to remakes.
Sony remaster games like this that need the visual upgrade and not fucking shit like Days Gone.
Exactly. Does Oblivion remake get you more excited for Elder Scrolls 6 that may or may not happen in the next 5 years?
I actually do think it's going to happen in the next 5 years. And kind of, yeah.
I believe that we're probably... I feel like the longest it's been 5 years before we see Elder Scrolls 6. Longest.
Yeah. I mean, it's Elder Scrolls. It's like you can't really go wrong, right? And it's like... I do think the typical like Bethesda adventure format works better in this setting than say like Starfield. So yeah, this gets me excited.
Yeah.
It's also a cool little follow up to everybody that got back into these kind of RPGs from Avowed now get to play through Oblivion again, and maybe after this they'll go back and play Skyrim again. And after that, hopefully, Elder Scrolls 6 will be ready.
No, first we got to get GTA 6 out, and then everyone can go crazy for that. It's pretty crazy to me that they basically just decided we're going to shadow drop this now because we know that GTA 6 isn't going to be anywhere near this.
That's the one big thing that they have going for them. This isn't conflicting with Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah.
You also notice how hyped people are getting for this because it just shadow dropped, and I wonder if that's the whole strategy with GTA 6. It's like, let's build all the hype right away, and within a week it'll be out, and that's how it'll get like the most excitement out of this. I think it's a bit different because whether if they announced that it's coming out in a week or in a month or like 5 years even, people are going to be excited for Grand Theft Auto 6. That's just the pull that game has.
Yeah. It's just like no one wants to release a game nearby that one because they know it's just not going to do fucking anything.
Yeah.
That's why you see a lot of games that we know are coming out this year but don't have a release date because of that.
They're just listed as 2025 because devs just don't want to be like, okay, we need to get our games out. It cannot be the same day or like the same week as Grand Theft Auto.
We can't come out anywhere near this fucking thing. Otherwise, we're just going to get buried and it's not going to go well.
Now, question for you, actually, now that we're on GTA 6, do you think if they announce that the price is higher at like $80 or $100, do you think that's going to kill people's hype for it at all?
People will whine and moan about it or whatever, but they'll still pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you, the instant they announce that, like, okay, pre-orders are live, $100 for the standard or whatever, and then like $120, $40, whatever for the deluxe edition or whatever, premium mega edition or whatever, and it's like, and people are going to go, it's $100. So like blah 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 blah, and then it's just like it'll be like this whole headline. We'll probably talk about it even or whatever and stuff like that in a nutshell, but it'll still probably sell be the highest selling video game of like all time.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. It's like what was Elden Ring set like how many did they have like in the first weekend or something like that? It wasn't like 30 million or something like that.
Something crazy.
It was like
that,
something
yeah.
absurd like that for Elden Ring. So it's like I can only imagine like GTA will be like
twice that, maybe
40, 50 million in the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like Steam and Xbox and PlayStation will just go like their stores will just go down by people just buying it, downloading it. I don't know.
That's gonna be fucking rough, because it's like I wonder if the like console developers, they have any insight as to when it's coming out, because they just got to be like, guys, we got to know when this is coming out so we can prep our fucking storefronts for this. This is going to kill us.
Well, this is why they can't necessarily do what Oblivion did as well, because it's just like then you're processing all these things because everyone's going out to buy it. Not that I'm saying Oblivion isn't exciting and a lot of people have already gone out and to buy it. It's not nearly going to be as many as that will go out and buy GTA 6, though.
No.
Oh, absolutely not.
It doesn't help that it's a remake of a game that was out on the Xbox 360, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that with the amount of people buying Oblivion will open up Sony's mind or even Xbox's mind to remaster these old games that we haven't seen since like 360, PS3, 4, whatever?
Well, Xbox has already kind of been on that kind of binge. They did this with they really haven't, I guess. But with Xbox, they have a lot less. I hate to admit this, but iconic games than that PlayStation does. It's like they remastered Halo 2. They remastered the first Gears of War game. We got a remaster for Oblivion now. So I think this Xbox is gonna continue into looking into doing more stuff like this. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more putting this on the onus of, hey, Sony, you want to try and do something like this?
I mean, we've been saying this forever, but it's like, yeah, we don't need a remake of fucking Days Gone. You guys have this giant backlog. For fucking heaven's sakes, why haven't you remastered not Demon's Souls, Bloodborne yet?
Bloodborne, yeah.
How long have people been begging for that, basically?
Begging, pleading, please, for the love of dear God, I can't take it anymore.
You have that. You have every Jak and Daxter game. You have every Sly Cooper game. You have every Ratchet and Clank video game out there. You have the entire Resistance and Killzone series. All these major franchises just sitting there waiting for a remaster. Just do. It's like that one meme. Just come on.
Do something.
Do something.
Do something. Just poke it. Just poke it with a stick.
Don't they have a studio specifically to do remasters now too?
I thought so.
So put them to better use than remastering a game that came out late PS4, early PS5 area, dude.
Yeah, I just I look at this and I go, it's just especially if it sells extremely well, which I have no reason to believe that Oblivion will not sell extremely well. But it's
already doing really good.
So it's just but when Sony sees these numbers and goes, oh, there actually is this. There's enough old gamers that will go pay for these old remasters. Hey, why don't we try that with our games now? Let's go grab some old Sly Coopers and stuff like that and remaster those and see what happens.
I hope that's the lesson they take away from this.
I hope so.
It's funny you mentioned too. Apparently, there were so many people crowding the PlayStation Store to buy Oblivion that the entire storefront on the PS5 shut down.
Did it really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Pretty nuts.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Hey, Sony, we're going to say it one more time. One more time in clear as day English. Take some of those old PS2 games and remaster them for the PS5. It doesn't have to be great remade overhauls or whatever. Just give them a little facelift and put them on the PlayStation 5. That's all we need.
Something else, I think. So, take this with a grain of salt. I cannot confirm this, but I've been hearing this everywhere from a bunch of different game journalists. Apparently, something went wrong with the Marathon Alpha, and like several hours before PlayStation players people were able to download and play the game on their Xbox first.
Huh.
I don't know. I just found that really funny, and I can imagine like some PlayStation exec just being like, "What the fuck happened? Like, why is our game like on the PlayStation on the Xbox before there's the PlayStation?" Crazy.
Yeah, that's what I see here too. I quick looked that up, and I was like, oh yeah, look at that. Huh. Whoops. I mean, that's what you say. You go, oops, my bad.
Yeah, though. Does this make you want to play Elder Scrolls at all? Are you still are you a believer now?
Maybe eventually. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I've never actually played through Skyrim. Like, I always get like halfway through, and I just go like, I'm bored of this. And I just stop.
It's fair enough.
So,
I don't really think those games are your thing either.
yeah, I don't know. They're fine for probably like the first like 10 hours, and then after that, I kind of just get bored of them. It's like that's the same shit. It's kind of like my whole like thing with why I couldn't really play through Witcher 3. It's just like I got through like probably the first 5 hours of that game, and I was like, and then wait, so this is basically the whole game basically.
Oh yeah.
And you go, and they go, yeah, that's the game, and I'm like, that's not very fun. I don't know. It gets a little boring after a bit.
Which is fair.
Yeah. So, anyways, so
All right, we can talk about some magic. A bunch of stuff that I didn't even realize.
yeah, it
happened
literally
is
got
going on.
introduced today as of us recording it. So there was this big magic convention, I think in Vegas, that they were doing. It was over this past weekend or whatever. It ended today, and they announced that there was a bunch of changes to the Commander format. I don't know if there's other formats. Most of the time I hear is the Commander, and it's fine. Bunch of cards got added to the game changers list. A few actually got unlisted from the game changers list, and cards got unbanned from the Commander list, which is interesting. So I think I'll probably start with those first because there's a little less to think about here. I want to point out, and what they kind of say in this article, and I think this is a very well-written article by both of these things to understand and really explain the reasoning is as to why these cards are unbanned, why some are not unbanned. We thought our real process of thinking about why these cards are staying banned, but could potentially in the future see unbans for these cards. So the first one that got unbanned was Gifts Ungiven. Gifts Ungiven is a blue and 3 instant that says search your library for up to 4 cards with different names, reveal them. Your target opponent chooses 2 of those cards, put the chosen cards into your graveyard, the rest of them into your hand. Now that
card got unbanned.
That card got unbanned, and that is by far probably the most powerful card that got unbanned, easily. Because there's a lot of people that are already talking about, especially with the card that's already in the game changers list with Underworld Breach, and just how easily this is just like abusable. So this will undoubtedly go into some CEDH decks and do some fucking wild shit. So,
damn.
Yeah, that's undoubtedly going to be some crazy CEDH stuff that is going to be interesting to watch and see all the combos that you can do off of that. The second is Sway of Stars, which is a 2 blue and 8 sorcery that says each player shuffles his or her hand, graveyard, and permanents they control into their library, draw 7 cards, and each player's life total becomes 7. 10 mana for a full reset, while could be powerful, especially when you're putting him at 7. He's spending 10 mana on this.
Yeah.
They even said it was like not particularly the most powerful card of all time, but they felt it was not fun to play against at the time, so that's why it was banned. And you have to remember with some of these bannings for Commander, it wasn't necessarily because they were extremely powerful, but because they weren't fun to play against. And that's pretty much what this is. This was a card that they thought at the time was very not fun to play against, so they just banned it. And now they're unbanning because they don't feel like it's that major of a threat or whatever, especially with like how easily counter spells are and everything like that. And Stuff like that. Next one is Braid's Cabal Minion. If you know Braid's Cabal Minion, this is a very powerful one from way back when. But it's a 4. It's two black and 2. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. And it's a 2/2 human. It's a legendary creature, so you can have it. It's like it was a mono black creature or whatever. And this is another one where it was like, people didn't like playing against this, so they banned it. Like, it's so easy to get around, I feel like a lot of times, especially with how easily it is to generate tokens.
Yeah.
So, there's that. This is the one that I thought was kind of funny, and a lot of people were talking about unbanning this one. But Coalition Victory. This is Wooburg, so it's green, red, black, blue, and white. 3. If you win the game, if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. That's an 8-mana sorcery. Now, again, this is one that people have been asking to be off of the thing just because of how ridiculous it is for the win con. So, and it's kind of the case. Like, yeah, there's Leyline of the Guild Pack or whatever, and it's like, wow, that's like you can win with like 3 cards on board or whatever, and it's like, yeah, but you have to build your whole deck around that, and it's like,
what are the chances that you get those exact 3 cards in a game?
And also, you play this, and then your opponent just goes, oh yeah, in response, I'm going to kill your green creature. Hey, guess what? You no longer fill the requirements for your thing, so you just spent 8 mana to do nothing. So, this is another old card that was basically just like they didn't like the idea of a person just winning the game on the spot, even if it is like a ridiculous win condition, basically. So they just banned it, and now it's being unbanned. So it's like, cool. I guess if your opponents just don't have removal in any way, shape, or form, I guess you just win. But if you're playing if you're playing against 3 other opponents, most likely somebody's going to have some removal or a counterspell or something. So, and also with how many like non-basic lands that you play in 5-color commander decks, it's actually going to be pretty hard to have 5, like 1 of each basic.
Yeah.
Just because you play a lot of dual lands just to fix your lands. I mean, I guess you can do it, but like.
I mean, in the only 5-color deck that I have, which is dragons. I don't feel like I play almost any basic lands, really.
Yeah. I feel like a majority of,
but...
I feel like, I mean, you'd have to play it just for, like... I mean, yeah, I feel like if you play a 5-color commander deck, you want to play at least, 1 or 2 copies of, like, each basic.
There are a few, yeah, but it's, like...
It's not your main, like, source of mana or whatever. It's, like, you want to be able to utilize your mana as you see fit, and basically, rather than like having to like, oh, I've got too much red or too much green, or I'm lacking a white source or something like that. Mana fixing.
It's not some. Yeah. It's not something that you're ever going to have like reliably enough for this card to really do anything.
No.
It's like I suppose it's possible for something like that to pop off, but like you said, you'd pretty much have to build your entire deck around it.
Yeah.
Plus, it's like if you put it out and your opponents have any remover at all, it's just like, well, you're fucked.
Yeah, it's like you either just counter this, or your opponent just goes, oh, you're about to win, or whatever, with this. And I'm like, well, I'll just kill your only white creature, so hey, guess what? You no longer fill the requirements for this. You just spent 8 mana to do nothing. Oh, darn. Like, because it doesn't say that you can only cast this spell if you have this or whatever. It's like, It's like, no, it's you play this, you win the game if you fill this conditioning. It's like wording does matter. The last card that they unbanned was the Panatomic Mirror, which is a 5-mana artifact that has imprint X. So you pay X and then you tap it. You may remove an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost X from your hand from the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy the imprinted instant or sorcery card and play a copy of it without paying its mana cost. Very powerful because you can consistently just play really powerful instants and sorceries every upkeep, basically. But I think this, if you're really complaining about this card, I think your deck just needs to run more artifact hate.
Yeah.
it's, it's like it's five mana, do nothing, into I'm gonna have to pay more mana, exile a card from my hand, and then it does something. I'm gonna play this 2 mana return to earth, return to dust, or whatever type thing. Hey, go, like your thing you just spent like 10 mana on is gone. Whoops. So there's that.
I mean, yeah. I don't think it's especially like that much worse than some of the other like crazy artifacts that are in the game. And like you said, basically every like deck that's like actually trying to compete in anything is going to run some form of artifact hate. So it's like not too crazy.
Oh, I guess this is true. I'm actually just reading this as like the first time if you imprint a card that just gives you an extra turn after this, you take infinite turns and win the game. But again, just like I don't know. To me, you just play artifact removal.
Mm-hmm.
Just play some spot removal, and there you go. Bada bing. You don't have to worry about it. I like how when I was hearing about people talking about this card or whatever, and people were just like, I can't wait to just take a bunch of extra turns or whatever with this card or whatever, because I'll be able to take an extra turn spell after on the beginning of each of my extra turns upkeeps. And I go, yeah, but you could just kill
Monkey's uncle. Yeah.
You could just, like, it's not like, back when, like, when was this card even printed? It looks like a very old set, but where it's like not every color had artifact removal. Like maybe green did or whatever, maybe like white did, but like there's a lot of cards that get rid of stuff now. And it's like, yeah, you might just have it at one point, but it's like you get rewarded, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. The chances of something like that popping off are not high enough to justify banning it, in my opinion.
No, not to leave it on the ban list.
Yeah. It's like people can come up with all these crazy scenarios. It's like, oh yeah, well if I do ever get the chance to do this, then it's going to be really crazy and I'm going to pop off super hard. But the question you got to ask yourself is, can I do that like every single turn? Every game you aim, I mean. Like, is there a reliable way to guarantee this happens? And if the answer is no, then it's like, well...
Or it's unlikely.
Yeah. Like, that's a thing that could happen. Like, it does not mean it's ever going to.
No.
It's like, I feel like I had decent resources to reach that infinite combo that I had in my... Squirrel deck, but like how often did I really get that to pop off? And like the years that I've had it, like maybe twice in total.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's like, yeah, cool thing if it works, but gotta get to the it's gonna work part.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know, Magic has had, there's been so many cards released since this card that it's like it just kind of gets trounced by some newer cards. So.
Oh yeah, not nearly as crazy as some of the stuff that I've seen come out of this game.
Yeah, and it's kind of where I go back to it, is just like looking at these. Like Gifts Ungiven is probably the most impactful unbanning here by far.
Mm-hmm.
But like
by a large margin,
a lot of the rest of these cards are kind of just like, oh, these cards were considered not fun to play against, so they just banned them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sway the Skies, Raids, Coalition Victory, and like the Mirror, just like probably wasn't viewed as fun to play against, so they just said, yeah, we're just gonna ban it.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at this one or whatever as well, they talked about Dockside Extortionist, Mana Crypts, and Jeweled Lotus. And basically they said, yeah, we did talk about them. We took opinions from a bunch of different like a bunch of different people or whatever. And some believe that they believe that it was better without them. The meta was better without them when it comes to CEDH. Some people say the game is more fun as a result of it. I think Dockside Extortionist in general just should be banned anyway because it's a very powerful card.
Yeah.
Jeweled Lotus,
the Darkside Extortionist.
Jeweled Lotus, I'm on the fence about because while it's very powerful in some commander decks, a lot of commander decks, if you're playing multicolored, like more than just 2 colors, is what I'm trying to say, like 3 or more, it's extremely, I don't know, not as good. Mana Crypt, I'm like, I don't know. It's if you want to play it, it's like to me, it's like these like early on Mana Rocks or whatever. It's like it's fine, honestly. Like if you want to play them, that's fine. I think they should be on the Game Changers, and that's about it.
I agree with that. It's like, I think you made the point in an earlier podcast. It's like, if we're gonna go for one, why aren't we going for all? You know?
Yeah.
It's like, why are we making? Why are we like allowing this, but then not making an exception for this? The big one that I think you mentioned was Soul Ring.
Yeah, which we'll actually talk about because when they were talking about the cards they added on, they brought up the idea of putting Soul Ring on the Game Changers list, which I actually think is quite interesting.
Really? That's crazy.
We'll talk about it when we get there because I have thoughts on it, and I actually really like the idea. But we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, one step at a time.
Yeah, the rest of this is just like future bans. It says right now they're not committing to any further ban changes for the rest of this year. No surprise there. I don't think they want to touch too many more cards. They talked about some cards that are like maybe could have been unbanned or whatever. Obviously, you have like the Power 9 and everything like that are still banned, but they talked about like potentially unbanning Balance, but ultimately decided, no, it's still too powerful. Biohedrum or whatever, this is like a 8-mana green thing where each player's life becomes the number of creatures they control. So aka if you control 0, you just lose because your life total becomes 0. And they said, well, yeah, but at the same time, we're just not sure if we want to unban this, basically. We talked about Emrakul, Aeon's Tauren. I don't even know why this is a discussion to talk about this card, because this card should still be banned. Unless you just say that you can't use this as your commander, basically. Like, that would be the only reason that you would ever unban this card, in my mind.
But Eldrazi aren't powerful enough. We don't have enough support.
Sure, dude.
It's not like they release a absolutely ridiculous game-changing bullshit-ass card every set or so.
Yeah. It's like Golos again. They were just like, yeah, you know, well, it's fun and interactive. I thought this was the one that might have potentially come off the one as well, like Golos. Mm-hmm. But ultimately they decided that the ETB of search library for any land card and put it onto the battlefield is a little too strong.
Yeah.
It's a little too strong. So, Gristlebrand, I think this is another one that's a no-brainer in my mind just to keep there, because paying 7 to draw 7 is pretty good. Paying 7 life, not even 7 mana, just 7 life. It's like drawing cards is pretty good. I don't know. They kind of go over a lot of the cards that are just like that, that aren't just like the obvious ones. People are like, were asking for Primeval Titan to come back, and I'm like, no, please don't. Just
yeah.
Leave him be. He's been there for a while, and he's gonna stay there. I'm sorry. What was another one? There was like another one that I thought was kind of interesting as well, but maybe I'm wrong. Nah. Yeah, they kind of went over just generally or whatever. They even say like Nadu. Nadu was a mistake card. They're like, yeah, he deserves his ban. Thought that was funny. That was their whole synopsis on Nadu.
Yeah, he shouldn't exist, and we know that
he was
now.
a mistake, and they I think I would hope that Magic would learn from this. I was like, I know that though I've heard the whole story when they were making Nadu and whatever, but I'm like, just don't let that happen, bro. But yeah, then we get to the Game Changers. The Game Changers changes, which is again, if you don't know what the Game Changers list are, is when Magic introduced their bracket system that they have now, they put out a bunch of cards that are what they call Game Changers, and they have a list of them now, or whatever. But there's actually 2 that actually got taken off, which, looking at these cards, I'm like, yeah, I don't know why they were here in the first place, to be honest with you. The white card, Trouble in Pairs, got unbanned, which is like a 2 white and 2 enchantment that if an opponent would begin an extra turn, that extra turn is then skipped. And then whenever an opponent attacks with 2 or more creatures, they draw their second card each turn, or cast their second spell each turn, you draw a card. Ultimately, they decided that it's not as powerful as they originally had thought it was going to be or whatever, and it didn't really feel justified and wasn't as big of a game changer as they were first anticipating, so they just decided to take it off the list. And I think it's fair enough.
Yeah. I agree.
The second card is Trinisphere. Trinisphere is a 3-mana artifact that, as long as the Trinisphere is untapped, each spell that would cost less than 3 mana would then go up to 3 mana. So ultimately, it was kind of like what would be looked at as kind of a stacks piece, and ultimately, it was just like not really having the effect that. Or they were saying it's like, oh, well, then people just stopped playing 3-mana cards or something like that, or they didn't think that. It is one of those things where it's just like, well, then just play an artifact hate. You know, it's like just whatever. It's like in the end, they were just like, it's fine, pretty much. And the reason that they thought it was going to be bigger is because it was considered a stacks piece. Okay, I get that.
Stacks does really suck. It feels like it fits, but
it does. But it's probably the least powerful stacks piece.
Of all the ones they already have, like that one seems a little silly.
I mean, considering that Winter Orb is, would be there. I mean, I already know it's a game.
Yeah.
It's already a game changer. So but I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then on to the ones that they added to the list, or whatever. They added 18 cards, which is quite interesting. Starting with Teferi's Protection. This is just been a Commander staple ever since this basically was printed. So it's 1 and 2. It's 1 white and 2. It's an instant that says until your next turn, your life total can't change. You gain protection from everything, and all permanents you control phase out, and then you exile Teferi's Protection. They said
it feels weird. Because it's like, I'll let you finish.
No, you go ahead.
Very sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say it does feel weird considering it is a Commander staple. This had it coming though.
Yes.
For as game changing as it is, it deserves to be here 100%. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
No,
I just wanted to get that out.
And you're exactly right because it's what they were saying as well. It's like while this is ultimately a defensive spell, if you want to talk about cards that quite definitely game change, this is one of them. It protects you completely, much like Cyclonic Rift. Teferi's Protection saves you from targeting while freely making big plays or attacks without risk. So yeah, ultimately they're saying it is worth a game changers because it does change the game. It does completely save your board and make you untouchable for basically an entire round. So yeah, I think it's absolutely there. Next one being Humility, which is a 2 blue and 2 enchantment that says each creature loses all abilities and is a 1/1 creature. I'm not surprised this is a game changer, considering it's like, oh, all your things that were really powerful and stuff like that, now they're just 1/1s and don't do anything.
Oh, well, fuck you. Take this. Yeah.
Yeah, basically saying this card slows the game down to a crawl, disabling everyone's creatures and shutting down types that where everyone builds their decks around. AKA cards that have ETBs or just activated abilities and stuff like that. So it's just massively more frustrating to play. And if you're playing this, it should be one of your game changers. Agreed.
Yeah.
The next 3 are kind of all in the same notion as well, where it's you have Narset Parter of Veils, Arkish Bowmasters, and Notion Thief. 3 cards that I was really surprised weren't on this list to begin with, but now are here. Basically saying that while it's just punishing people for drawing extra cards in Commanders, and basically it's and if you're preventing your opponents from drawing extra cards or punishing them for drawing extra cards, that it's worth a game changer slot.
Mm-hmm.
And agreed.
Yeah.
Next one is Intuition. Intuition is a 1 blue and 2. Search your library for any 3 cards. Reveal them to target opponent. He or she chooses one. Put that card into your hand. The rest into your graveyard. Shuffle your library. This has heavy thoughts when it comes to the Gifts Ungiven that just got unbanned. So, and I assume that probably the cards that got unbanned, or at least Gifts Ungiven, should be on the game changers list. If not,
yeah.
So. But yeah, basically just makes you think about that card. One last for almost the same effect. Then we have Consecrated Sphinx, which is a 2 blue and 4. It's 4/6 with flying. That whenever an opponent draws a card, you draw 2 cards. it's again just like, oh, punishing your opponent for drawing cards, basically, because you just get to draw twice as much.
Mm-hmm.
I think it seems pretty fair, and considering that they said because it's a must-kill threat for most commander tables. And I would agree with that.
Yeah.
The next one being Necropotence, which is the 3 black, and then you skip your draw phase whenever you discard a card, exile that card from graveyard, and you can pay 1 life to exile the top card of your library face down and put that card in your hand at the beginning of your end step. You want to draw like 30 cards on your next turn, and by paying all of your life, yeah, that's pretty much what Necropotence does.
Damn.
That's pretty much what it was. It was just like, oh, it's like, though it does cost, though it's like, it's difficult to cast because it's 3 black, but once down, the ability runs. Ability turns it, you pay as much of your 40 life total as you want, and then just draw that many cards or whatever, and you're just that far ahead because you've just drawn so many more cards than your opponents or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Pairs really well with any of the cards that say, like, you have no maximum hand size.
No maximum hand size, or just, like, because it's like whenever you discard a card, you just exile it. So when you go to discard at the end of your turn, you then exile them, and then you just get them back at end step anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, it's not doing anything.
Especially, like, when in CEDH, when you're typically trying to end games pretty quickly, that a card like that just becomes invaluable, basically.
You can draw through a third of your deck? Yeah, I would say so. When it's just like, if you're looking for your combo piece, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
All right, then we got Deflecting Swat, which is 1 red and 2. And then it says, if you control your commander, you may cast this without paying its mana cost. You choose new targets for a target spell or an ability. Counts as sort of like a counterspell, but you can redirect an effect, basically. Sort of. So it's a great way to prevent your like commander you just spent a bunch of mana on from being destroyed by like destroy target creature effect or whatever. Instead, you can flick it back onto your opponent. So,
yeah.
And the fact that you can do it for free. If you had to pay mana, it probably wouldn't be a game changer. But the fact is, you can just do it for free. Is why it probably deserves this spot.
Yeah.
The next one being the next 3, because they're all kind of in the same vein, is Gamble, Crop Rotation, and Worldly Tutor. All just like tutor cards, basically. It's like Gamble is 1 red, search your library for a card, you put it into your hand, then you randomly discard a card from your hand. Crop Rotation, sacrifice a land, put a land into the battlefield, or whatever, and Worldly Tutor, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, and put it on the top of your deck.
Yeah, none of those surprised me.
The thing is, I think they wanted, when they first made the Game Changers list, I think what they wanted to do is they wanted to avoid too many of the tutor cards when it came to it, because they already had the restriction on like the thing where it's like, oh, you had what is it? Yeah, no mass land denials or extra turns, no mass lands denials, extra turns or whatever. No, like few tutors or whatever. And like those being like few early game tutors. So I think it was already the idea that if you're running a bunch of early tutors, that you were already higher up in the brackets anyway.
Yeah.
But that it leaves it ambiguous. So just throwing them on the Game Changers list makes it less ambiguous.
100%. Especially for a card like Gamble, which I get it. It is literally a gamble, but
yeah, I mean, but like the thing is, if you play it on your first turn, you play it on your red mana, you play Gamble, you got 5 other cards in hand. The likeliness that you hit it is, it's like a 1 in 6, but like still. As well as when you look at like the list or whatever, you already see like some early tutors like Enlightened Tutor, Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, Vampiric Tutor, or whatever, already on the list. So it's like
these fit in right at home with those.
Exactly. Like that's just like if we're already gonna put them, or not banning, if we're gonna put these on the Game Changers list already, let's just throw the other ones that probably should have been there to begin with. Then we have Seaborn Muse, which is basically is 2 green and 3 that untap all permanents and you control during each other player's untap step. So basically, you untap with your opponents.
I don't
It's
like that.
yeah, it's a very powerful card that I can see why they did it, because considering that if you're running green, like if you're running Simic basically, you can untap. You play Seaborn Muse. You can then tap out to play your big creatures. Then during your opponent's turn, you can untap all your stuff. So you can untap all your lands. So you can leave up your counter. So you have your mana up for your counter magic as well. The whole point is you either have to, when you're playing blue in general, is that you either, do I develop a board, do I work on towards getting to my win conditions, or do I think my opponent's about to play something massive that the only way I'm going to be able to deal with it is just to counter it. So it's kind of taking away that whole thing or whatever, and it's the reason why Seaborn Muse is very powerful.
Yeah, because at that point you don't have to worry about, it's like, oh, I can play my big creatures, and if my opponent's planning to do anything, I can just have my mana back to counter it. Like that's crazy.
Or if you're playing like Flash as well, like a lot of things with like Flash and stuff like that, then you can just like, oh, I untap. Oh, at the end of your turn, I'm going to play out these 3 creatures. During your turn, then I then untap, and I'll do the same thing. Basically, I leave up my counter magic, and then if I'm playing a bunch of creatures with Flash, or I can give Flash, something like that, like Leyline of Anticipation, then I can just play all the shit out, and then while untapping each and every turn.
Isn't there a card that's kind of like that called Intruder Alarm, or am I going crazy? It's something like that, right?
Something like that. I know there's like a green enchantment that like also reads like, but it only works for lands. It's like you untap, but I think it's like you untap your lands at the beginning of your end step, not during every player's upkeep. Something like that.
Okay, so yeah, no, it's different. Sorry, I was trying to think. It's like, do you play something like that in your fairies deck? Because that would work out like perfectly since they all have Flash. But no, so I get why I thought of Intruder Alarm though. I actually play this card in my Merfolk deck. It's the one where creatures don't untap, and they only untap when a creature comes into play.
Oh, got it. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Sorry, I just got confused there.
No, you're good. Next one being Natural Order is a 2 green and 2 at an additional cost. To cast this spell, you sacrifice a green creature, search your library for a green creature, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. It's a slightly better version of like Worldly Tutor. It's like, yeah, it costs 4 mana and you have to sacrifice a creature, but it's like, oh, here, get your biggest green creature onto the battlefield immediately. Not surprised that this one got thrown out of the Game Changers.
Yeah.
Next one being Food Chain. I've noticed a lot of these are green cards. I just realized that as I'm reading through these. It's almost like when they put out the original green list, they only had 3 cards for green on there. Was just like, what the hell are you doing? But yeah, Food Chain. It's 1 green and 2 for an enchantment that exile creature you control add X mana, where X is the 1 plus the exiled creature's mana value. Spend this only to cast creature spells. I mean, this is just the combos that you can do with this, and the fact is, like, you can just go like, oh, let me just create a creature token, spend it on this, to then do that. And I feel like this is so easily you can make infinite combo or infinite mana with this. Yeah, mostly feels infinite combos, whereas to keep out of, and this is mainly to keep those out of those bracket 1s and 2s to feel like it's worth calling out as a Game Changers list to instantly put it into bracket 3. That makes sense. I've never really experimented with this card, but I'm sure there's just some nasty shit you can do with it.
Hard agree.
Just looking at it. We got Aura Shards, which is white, green, and 1. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Yikes.
Ugh.
Yeah, I'm just reading the thing here. It's like, while it's important to have limiters on artifacts and enchantments in the games of Commander, some cards go overboard. Aura Shards is a permanent source of removal, consistently destroying build-around rocks, cards, mana rocks, and even odd creatures. Many popular archetypes have trouble fighting through aura shards, especially since the color pairing. Yeah, when you're constantly throwing down tokens, because it says whenever a creature, so even creature tokens work in green and white. That's where a ton of the creature tokens come from. Not surprised that they were just like, oh, this is basically just Vandal Blast then. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. I can see why they threw this one on here then.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got Field of the Dead, which is a land actually. So when Field of the Dead enters tapped, and then you can tap it for a colorless source whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And basically they said that this one, because it's just like, even though it's like not the most powerful land of all time, just because it's so easily exploitable with the fetch lands and everything like that, just being able to spam out lands, basically once you have that, like, 7 land types, and just make a horde of zombies for basically nothing. And it's like, okay, I kind of agree. It's a game changer because it's just like you're always going to have chump blockers, especially because a lot of the decks that run Field of the Dead, like I run it in my Necro Blossom deck or whatever, and that's landfall deck. So you're gonna have multiple land drops. If you're doing fetch lands as well, you're getting them back from the graveyard, doing them more. You're getting at minimum 4 to 5 zombies on just one turn. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Then we got, last one would be Mishra's Workshop. It's another land that says tap to add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. This mana can only be spent on artifacts. This is a old card that is very expensive. And they even said that it's like, while this is not highly played due to its difficulty to acquire, a land that taps for 3 mana for artifacts, it should probably be on the Game Changers list just because of how crazy artifacts can go. And if money is literally no object to you, I think it just deserves to be on the Game Changers list.
Yeah.
And you know what? Fair. If nobody really plays it anyway, who gives a fuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like powerful lands should deserve to be on here, whether or not they're highly played or not. So that's pretty much all the 18 cards they added to the Game Changers list. They kind of went on to talk about some cards they thought about adding onto it. Some of them being they wanted to stick away from popular commanders that they didn't want to just start throwing commanders onto the Game Changers list because they didn't. It doesn't feel like that's the whole point of the Game Changers list.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of agree because they could have thrown like Corvold, Edgar, Ur-Dragon, Joda, Atraxa on here. And I kind of feel like that defeats the purpose of the Game Changers list, and I think that, and I agree with what they're saying here. So maybe it'll be something they look into at some point, but for now they're leaving it alone. But considering that they have like 2 very powerful commanders already on the Game Changers list with Yuriko, Winota, Grand Arbiter, and the Inkrin or whatever, along with Urza, High Lord Artificer or whatever, people were just like, well, why do you have those guys on there but not like these guys? And I go, but those ones are just inherently broken and completely change the game you're playing. So, whereas like, yes, Corvold just accelerates an engine you're already building. Edgar, same way. Ur-Dragon is the same way with dragons. You have an Ur-Dragon deck. You would, I think, you would say that same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Joda, Atraxa. I mean, the thing is like I feel like in a lot of Atraxa decks, very rarely do you actually see Atraxa hit the board.
Which feels weird.
It does. But it's kind of just like, oh, if we need an extra source of proliferating, we have it, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah. So, other cards I thought about were Farewell, which is like a 2 white and 4 choose one or more, exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and or graveyards. So you can choose all of them if you want to. And ultimately they said, well, this is incredibly powerful, catch all board wipes. There's just a lot of these, like, 6-mana board wipes that do similar things. Like, yes, this one specifically says exile as opposed to destroy. But they didn't think it was quite worth the level of game changers. And while I kind of chagrin when I see a card say exile, especially when it's like exile creatures, artifact creatures, enchantments, and graveyards, I kind of go, okay, fair enough. Because I feel like for some board states or whatever, like if you could just have like a board that says like, oh, all your things are indestructible. Well, how the fuck am I going to deal with that? You can just play farewell or whatever, and I guess that gets rid of it. And you don't have to choose all of them. So, I don't know. If I had to add one, I was like, maybe I'd think about that. I'm sure they had a lot of conversation if they wanted to add farewell to it. Maybe something to look forward to in the future to see if they change their mind on that. And we got Alms Collector, which is a 1 white and 3. It's a creature that has flash. If your opponent would draw 2 or more cards, instead you and that player draw a card. So basically, it's just like to make card draw more fair, rather than like with like Orcus Bowmaster or Notion Thief or Narset Parter or Veils, where it just completely says, oh, you don't get to draw those cards, or oh, you get punished for drawing those cards. Especially like Notion Thief, where it's like, oh, if you draw a card or whatever, that's not your first card you draw each turn, I get to draw that card. At least Collector seats that we both do. So it's not as unfair.
Crazy. Yeah.
So, and that's kind of why I missed it. This is one I was kind of surprised about that didn't make the list was Mana Drain. It's like 2 blue, and then it's instant that says counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase. Add an amount of colorless mana equal to that spell's mana value. And while I said, yeah, it's certainly powerful, and it's very strong mid to late game, but acting as a counter spell and your mana boost, both these things are powerful, but it's only a one-time thing and unlikely to completely shape the board. Yeah, I'm like yes and no about that.
That's a rough one. Mana Drain has been a bit of an issue for a long time. It's kind of like Cyclonic Rift in that way.
And here's how I look at it. This is because you can only play one of these in your deck, and you have 99 cards in your deck. The likeliness that you draw this, and then you wait for the most perfect time to utilize this. And then it's just like, oh, well, if you're going to do that or whatever, then just ban Counterspell. And like, well, no one's ever going to ban Counterspell or whatever.
No, that one's going to be in there forever.
Exactly. No one's going to ban Counterspell. But it's like, but Mana Drain gives you back mana. And while that can flip the tides in a way, they're saying it's not so oppressing that it's not worthy of a game changer because it doesn't completely change the game for multiple turns. It's just basically like one big flashy move and only done on the correct target.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess if you wait for that perfect moment to utilize it, then yeah, I guess it is. But it's like, and you should just win the game off of playing it at the most perfect time. Okay, I can get behind that. So, this isn't like Modern or anything like that, where it's like you can run 4 of these and you're constantly countering stuff, then playing your big Eldrazi's or whatever as a result of it too. So, it's kind of how I look at it. It's like, if we're going to add every powerful card to the Game Changers list, then what's the point of the Game Changers list? Mystic Remora is 1 blue enchantment that has a cumulative upkeep of 1, so you put it like a age counter on it and or whatever, and you have to keep paying that, like, so you'd have to pay 1, then 2, then 3 every turn if you want to keep it on the board. But it's whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 4. Very similar to a card that's already on the Game Changers list called Ristic Study. But Ristic Study you don't have to constantly pay for, and it's only your opponent only has to pay 1. So while Mystic Remora is powerful in the early game, it's probably not going to stick on the board for maybe a turn or two. It's like, I think I played in my Alondra deck or whatever, and it was just like, yeah, I threw it in there because in the early game you can draw like 3 or 4 cards off it, but after that it's like, I'm not going to pay for it. It's fine. So, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Then we go Force of Will, and I think this kind of falls under the same line of Mana Drain. But Force of Will is a 5 mana and 2 blue and 3 that says counter target spell. It's an instant. So, but you may pay a life and exile another blue card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. So, free counters in a nutshell. Like, you don't have to pay mana to counter something, and it's like 2 cards or whatever, and do that. Yes, it's powerful, but I think it falls under the same idea of mana drain, where it's you really only do this once, most likely.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. That's how I look at it. It's like, again, if we were playing in a format like Modern, where you could do this 4 times or whatever,
or 5 times, it'd be different.
4 or 5
it's not exactly
times.
a game changer.
Yeah, no, it's like oh, you're doing something really powerful, like you're playing a really powerful creature. Well, I don't have any mana to pay, and it's a good bluff too. It's like, oh, the blue player's tapped out or whatever. Does he have a foil or a Force of Will in hand? Well, I just got to roll the dice. So then you play it, type thing, and oh, I'm gonna Force of Will it. Well, I guess I just don't win now, but that's how it goes. That's the life of playing against the blue player, man.
Yeah. Blue sucks. This is why everyone hates blue.
No one likes blue because it stops you from winning the game.
It's the anti-fun color.
Right. Then we have Time Twister and Wheel of Fortune, which are similar-ish or whatever, where it's like...
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, and Wheel of Fortune is both players discard their hands and draw 7, or what? So it's like, it's a wheel. And it's like, Time Twisters is a fucking handful, but basically all it is that, like... And it's a card that no one ever plays, because it's an old one, where it's like, oh, you just play a separate game on top of your other game. And nobody wants to deal with that, so nobody ever plays it. But... So... basically, they said they left these ones out because of... Especially with Wheel of Fortune, not so much Time Twister. But okay. It was like, basically, it's like, now that like cards like Notion Thief and Narset are being listed as game changers, they don't feel the need to put these on the game changers list because they're already there. And it's like, they're the ones that that really impacted the use of these cards. Because it's just like, oh, we're now forcing you the card that was like that went comboed with this or whatever. So it's like, oh, discard your hand and you no longer get to draw 7. Like if Narset's on the field or whatever. Notion Thief allows me to draw 7 more cards on top of my other 7. So it's like, now that those are on game change lists, they were like, all right, well, it's already added a game changer that was already there. So most likely it's going to push it up a bracket anyway.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. It's like, don't need to just throw everything on the game changes list as long as the cards that are already problematic with it are going on there already.
I suppose so. Wheel of Fortune is just a crazy one to me, though.
Yeah.
I've seen...
3 mana to draw a whole new hand is pretty nutty.
I was going to say, I've seen some combos that can just, like, pop off with that, too. I think there's one. It was obviously like a really high CEDH deck, but it was a OTK that used this and Black Lotus. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, like, not many, if any, people are going to have access to that, but, you know, just putting it out there.
It's probably like Nekuzar or something like that, because it's like whenever your opponent draws a card, you ping them for a damage, if I had to guess.
Something like that, yeah.
Probably was. Then we have Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos or whatever. They're both very similar. It's just like Dictate is 5 mana 5 mana, 2 black, and 3 with an enchantment with flash that when it says whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Grave Pact is similar with that, just 1 less mana for the same effect. It's the same effect, but it doesn't have flash. Whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. And they were thinking that because it was just like, oh, if you play like Orzhov or whatever, and you sacrifice all these creature tokens or whatever with these cards out, your opponent then sacrifices their whole board, and that's not very fun to play against. It should be a game changer at that point. And to which they go, but in the end, it's like most commander decks, and it's like, and to teach players to become better commander players is that you want to be able to interact with your opponent's board state. So that way, and I'm not saying that like, oh, I guess we should always have enchantment and artifact hate or whatever. It's just like, but you have to pick and choose of like where you use your artifact or removal or artifact or enchantment removal, because it's like, yeah, I don't know. That's really the best way to describe it.
I mean, the people making these lists have the difficult task of really like trying to piece together like what do we consider a game changer too.
Yeah,
it's like, sure, there are instances in which cards like this are going to like drastically change the game, but is this really something worth putting on the list over?
Yeah, and it's like,
is it so.
And I think the way they kind of do it, and the way I think that as time goes on, you learn as a Magic player. It's like if you're just getting into the game, most likely you're just picking up like a precon or some cheap deck or whatever that's not going to have like any to all game changers at all. But it's like the idea is that as you continue to play, you'll understand the game more, and you'll understand like, oh, I can't get rid of this enchantment thingy or whatever. Oh, well, this card allows me to do it. This card allows me to do it. This card allows me to do it. So I should just throw all these cards in there and just make my deck more able to deal with threats that aren't just creatures or planeswalkers or something like that. And in essence, teach them to be better Magic players.
Yeah.
To which I kind of agree.
It's all about pushing people in the right direction.
Yeah, but they even say in this, it's like, well, we don't think it's necessarily the strongest. Like, it's strong, but it's not the strongest thing with, like, these 2 cards or whatever. They go, we're not 100% sure. It's like, you let us know type thing. It's like, let us know if these enchantments should be on the list or not. So they want people's feedback, and I think that's perfectly fine. Like, they themselves were very torn by the idea of putting these on the game changers list. So they're like, we're just going to leave them off for now. You let us know if you think they should. And I think it's perfectly fine. It's like they didn't want to make the hard choice of just saying, oh, it is, and then going, okay, and then next time we add more or we take them off, we're like, okay, yeah, this is a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think they also, is a little off topic, they got to keep in mind like what specific players are asking this advice from too. Because if they're just like asking the general community, it's like, okay, what cards should be on this list? That can go very badly.
Oh, I know.
Your community should never run your scene like that. I feel like I don't need to explain this to you.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like, obviously, like, oh, you'll just get a lot of people saying, put this card on it, put this card on it, put this card on it. And I'm like, no, that's not what they're asking. They're asking about these 2 cards specifically.
That's good. Okay.
No, yeah, it's just like, we're not sure how to feel about Dictative Erebos and Grave Pact, because while they are powerful, we don't think that they are overly powerful. They are enchantments that should be removable. Yes, they'll clear a board. Will that probably get somebody back into the game as a result of playing these things? Probably, but we're just not sure if it's worthy enough for a Game Changers list. So, what do you think about these 2 cards, basically? So,
yeah.
Next one would be Necrodominance, a card that's very similar to Necropotence, but slightly worse. So it's 3 green. Legendary enchantment that says you skip a draw phase at the beginning of your end step. You may pay any amount of life. If you do, draw that many cards. Your maximum hand size is 5, and if a card or token will be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. This is a just strictly worse Necropotence. Because not only is it limiting your hand to 5, but anytime a card would go into a graveyard, it is then exiled instead. And it's not like you get it back, and it says at the beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life and draw that many cards. So not only are you doing it on your end step, like Necropotence, but you're limiting your hand size to 5, so you don't want to pay over too much, because then you'll just have to discard down. This is just a strictly worse Necropotence, and I'm not surprised they did not put this on the list.
Yeah, this does not deserve to be on there at all. Not even close.
Yeah. The next one would be Craterhoof Behemoth. This is they've recently reprinted this one in the Tarkir Dragonstorm, actually, which is a 3 green and 5 beast that with haste that says when this creature enters creatures you control gain trample and +X, where X is the number of creatures you control. And a lot of people would say this is a game changer because it can just win the game on the spot, and you would think that, yeah, that's a pretty big game changer or whatever.
I actually disagree.
And I would too. Because in my opinion, this is a game ender. Not only do you have to set up your board so big to the point where then you can win, cause your opponent to win, or like to beat your opponent. If you're still in that board set, by the time Craterhoof Behemoth hits the board, you deserve to win.
It's very much a game where a card where you play if you want a flashy ending, basically. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, it's like you're already in a position to win the game. You already have a crazy board state. It's like, okay, let's bring in Craterhoof Behemoth, just bring the whole thing home, basically.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think it's like because like if it came out and was doing something just absolutely crazy, that'd be one thing, but it's very much a card where it comes out at a point where you're already doing really well. It's a game enhancer, I guess you could say.
Well, I just say this is a game ender, basically. This is the game you come in, it's like, we're bringing in the big boys. We've got everything we need, basically. Here's all of my 1/1 soldiers or something like that, or my 3/3 beasts. Let's just pump them up with Craterhoof and swing for game. In my mind, that's not a game changer. That's a game ender. And I think that's kind of how they were talking about it. It's like, and it even says, it's like, it is certainly true that this card is a game. This card ends games, like they just said. However, 8 mana for a green creature isn't acceptable at the end of the game to win like that. While cheating it out with cards like Natural Order is a problem, and that's why Natural Order is going on to the Game Changers list. So if you're running that combo where you can just sacrifice, a green plant token or sapperling or whatever, and then get out Craterhoof Behemoth for 4 mana as opposed to 8 when you don't have it in your hand, then that's a game changer. So in fact, it puts it up into brackets, and that's really we have to remember. That's what the Game Changers list is meant to do. It's to weed out the powerful cards to put them in higher brackets, so that way the less powerful decks don't get overrun by these powerful cards. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. That lower bracket decks should have the ability to play powerful cards or play game ender cards like Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that thought process. Then we got the Great Henge. This one was like this one's a very two sides to this coin, I feel like, because there's a lot of people that say this is a game changer, and then there's a lot of people that says it's not. And this is a 2 green and 7 artifact that says the spell costs X less, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So aka if you have a creature that has power of 7 or greater, this is 2 green. It allows you to tap it, add 2 green to your mana pool, and then you gain 2 life. And then it says whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it and draw a card. It serves as 2 or 3 different things. It serves as a mana rock, it serves as a life gainer, and it serves as a make your board bigger, and as well as drawing cards. More of the draw cards part than anything like that. So you can just chain little creature into little creature to little creature and just keep drawing through your deck. I'm kind of torn on this one, and it's not just reading this or whatever. It's like a lot of people say that they were too. It's like, while you can absolutely say that this is a snowball card that will eventually will just lead you to the end part, and that in theory that changes the game or is a very powerful card that makes it a little unfair.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like it's a 9 mana thing that most of the time by. Like, if you play, like, a 4-mana 4/4 green creature or something like that, then you can play this as a 5-mana card. So, 5 mana for this, then you pay the 2, or then you get the 2 from it, and you can play another creature, draw a card. It's not overly broken. And the fact that it has the clause where it's non-token creature, I think if this said any creature enters, then it would be busted. But thank God it had the clause of non-token. I don't know. I'm on the fence about this one. I think it could and could not be.
In the right context, this is crazy.
Yeah, I think this is another instance that your deck not necessarily
I think it helps.
Yeah, not necessarily you build around this, but it's like it's a helper card. Like I don't know.
It does a little bit of everything. It's a good boost for green players, but I feel like when we're talking about like game changers and the kind of decks that use them, I feel like a lot of those decks could get along perfectly fine without something like this. Like it's not like it's a little bit of life gain, but it's not like crazy life gain. It's more mana, but like not really that much more mana. And the few advantages it gives you are good, but not really amazing, especially when you consider it's like a card that you're gonna want to play in the late game, either because of the really high mana cost or to get the discount from, high power creatures that are already on the board.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For when this is coming out, in terms of like the game that you're playing it in, I don't see it as too crazy. Like you, I'm kind of on the fence about it, though.
Yeah, seems like that's what a lot of people
does a
are
lot.
at. Like, it does a lot, and it's very powerful when it gets on the board. But again, it's like if you're playing artifacts or enchantment hates, then your opponent just plays this. They maybe use it once, and then it's gone.
This has no protection whatsoever.
Yeah, it's not like this has ward or hexproof or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It might warrant it, or it will probably warrant a removal card if a person sees it. I don't know. This is one that maybe like the next time they do this, they could just throw on here. I wouldn't be too shocked about that one. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's pretty good way to leave it. The next three are very similar cards with Green Sun Zenith, Court of Calling, and Finale of Devastation. They're all like pay X. They're green cards that pay X. Search your library for a green creature, put it onto the battlefield. Or whatever. Like Green Sun Zenith is 1 green and X, and then you can start to do that. Court of Calling is 3 green and X, but it has Convoke, so you can use your creatures to help pay for the cost. And Finale of Devastation is 2 green and X. And then it's just like, but then it's like if X is 10 or greater, then it gains +X and haste until end of turn. So you're playing a ton of mana into this to look for a creature. And like even if it's like Craterhoof Behemoth or like, because I know that was like a thing with like Court of Calling is like you play like in like old school elf decks, you play like Court of Calling, tap all your elves, play Craterhoof Behemoth, play a card that allows you to untap all your elves, swing for game, basically. So, but I don't know. I think they're fine just because you're going to have to pay the X cost. I know there are commanders that are like X cost cards. They can generate mana, like you can generate a ton of mana for X cost cards or whatever and stuff like that. But ultimately, that's what the deck's trying to do. So putting these on the Game Changers list is kind of just targeting those commanders that are not even that good. So, I don't know. They're fine.
Yeah.
They're not as powerful as like Natural Order or Worldly Tutor or anything like that.
No. And especially when you consider like Finale of Devastation 2, there's a lot of points of failure to that into that. It's like you can either counter this or the creature that it can bring out. Neither really has any. I don't know. I don't see it as that bad in the grand scheme of things. It's rough if you encounter one of these, obviously, but
Yeah.
nothing too crazy.
Yeah. It's like, again, it's like, oh, you're taking a risk by pouring this much mana into like card that allows you to tutor out a thing. But it's like it's like paying extra cost to find the creature, like the perfect creature you're looking for. So, it's fine. They're fine. Tooth and Nail. This is a very iconic card.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
A very iconic card that's 2 green and 5 that says choose one, search your library for up to 2 creature cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, and shuffle, or put up to 2 creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield, or you can pay an additional 2 extra to entwine them, aka doing both. So, aka then it would become 9 mana, search for 2 creatures, and then put 2 creatures from your hand onto the battlefield.
In certain circumstances, that can be crazy.
Yeah. And again, they talk about it in the similarity is like this can be a game ender similar to Craterhoof Behemoth. So I guess just kind of take everything that we said about Craterhoof Behemoth and throw it onto Tooth and Nail. And I don't disagree with that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a late game ender, and if you're paying 9 mana for a card and that doesn't get countered, you should just win the game. Like that. This also gives us a great context of what they think late game is as well with Commanders. It's like 8 by turn 8, assuming you haven't been missing land drops or anything like that, or turn like 7, 8, 9, 10. Like that's what they consider late game, and I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So Defensive Heart, this setup. So this one's a very old card. This is 1 green and 3. During your upkeep, if one of your opponent controls 3 or more creatures, sacrifice Defensive Heart, search your library for up to 2 creature cards, and put those creatures into play. This one's asking your opponent to just be creature heavy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's an old card I've never seen before, so I have no idea. It seems fine. It's like it's 4 mana, do nothing if your opponent doesn't have 3 or more creatures in play. And it's like during your upkeep. So if your opponent, so like say you play this, your opponent reads the card and says, "Oh, I've got 3 or more creatures. I can either sacrifice, so I have 3 or less, so this effectively does nothing, or I can just kill it." And theoretically, it does nothing. Yeah, it's fine.
I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. And the last one they brought up, which I think is interesting and what we kind of already talked about earlier, is the idea of putting Soul Ring onto the Game Changers list.
That obviously is the biggest one.
That is interesting.
Because everyone universally plays Soul Ring.
Yeah, so the idea of Soul Ring instantly becoming a bracket 3 deck automatically, because again, how the brackets shape out is that you can't have Game Changers in your list unless you're playing at least bracket 3. So the idea that anyone that is playing super casually or whatever either can't play Soul Ring or, I mean, I guess I don't know. That's an interesting one. I kind of like it though.
I see the appeal. I don't see it ever happening, to be honest, but
maybe.
You are right when we talked about this before. It's like if you get a super early game, you automatically have a massive advantage over basically everyone else at the board.
Mm-hmm. And I would argue that being like 2 turns ahead of your opponent just on mana value alone is a game changer. You know?
Yeah, I agree.
But it's very back and forth. Because like this, if they decided that eventually they wanted to do it, and I think this was kind of just put this article out here to get people thinking, to get people talking about whether or not it should or could be a game changer. And I go, A lot of people have been asking for a ban of Soul Ring, and there was no chance that was ever going to happen. But throwing it on
on Game Changers, that's interesting.
It's
interesting.
More
possible, certainly. Yeah.
And I wouldn't hate it. I think it would solve a lot of issues when it comes to very casual Commander Magic or whatever. And for Soul Ring, for like that one person to get Soul Ring or whatever, and just completely, getting ahead of the other to get ahead of the other opponent and what feels like a stomp.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is again, and it brings up my point of like, okay, if we're gonna hit Soul Ring, then we should hit all these early mana rocks. And I'm not saying like Arcane Signet should be on there as well in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I disagree with that though. Because at least Arcane Signet is 2 for 1 mana of the color you want, basically, of the colors you need.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Soul Ring is 1 for 2 colorless. I don't know. It's a slippery slope if I'm taking that argument.
I get the argument in general. It's like, if we're going to ban this mana rocks, then we just need to ban all the mana rocks. At the exact same time, not all mana rocks are built the same. And you were talking about this just now. It's like, some mana rocks are clearly and obviously more problematic than, some others. It's like, when I'm playing Golgari, obviously I like getting Golgari Signet. I would never argue that it's more effective or better than Soul Ring.
No. Yeah.
So, if we're going to start banning mana rocks, it's all about identifying which ones are the most problematic.
Yeah.
And like you did say, it's a slippery slope when you get into Game Changers, though, because...
Well, and it's
kind of like...
it's also interesting the idea that I was reading here as you were kind of going over this is like in terms of the idea that every bracket would get 1 game changer. So like rather than saying the first 2 brackets there is no game changers in there, you're not allowed to have any cards on the game changers list, and that at bracket 3 is when you get 3 of them. The idea that okay, we make Soul Ring game changer, and then you can put in brackets 1 and 2, then you can have 1 game changer. That game changer doesn't necessarily need to be Soul Ring, and that's where it can get a little rough, because then I don't know, it's just like, then you say, oh, you could run Soul Ring or whatever, and I go, well, then that defeats the point of it being a game changer at that point, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do like your point where it's just like, oh, you just need to identify the problematic mana rocks or whatever. If they ever decide that maybe one day they decide to unban Mana Vault or something like that, obviously it will be a game changer. Mana Crypt is already a game changer, if I'm not mistaken. Or Mana Crypt is... I'm sorry. Mana Vault's the one that's unbanned. Mana Crypt...
the reverse. Yeah.
I always get it mixed up. It's already game changer, so I'm not surprised that's on there. So definitely if they unban Mana Crypt, it will definitely be a game changer as well. And the idea that should they unban Jeweled Lotus, I don't know. Who really knows and who really cares, in all honesty, in my mind. It's like, I don't know. It's just like, I get that they probably didn't want to unban it just because of like, oh, we're going back on our word that of like less than a year. Sure. But at the same time, it's like, I do think that even though the card was made for Commander specifically, it was probably a little too powerful. So yeah, but it's like Soul Ring is like, even though I've always been just kind of like ban Soul Ring because it pushes things forward that in ways I don't like, because no one ever wants to use their artifact hate on a Soul Ring. They would rather spend it on something else that's more impactful or whatever, something else that's more just worse, I guess, and stuff like that. So it's like, if a person plays Soul Ring till turn 1 or whatever, and it's obviously a Soul Ring turn 1 is way better than a Soul Ring on turn 8.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. It's like, oh, and then like later on in the game, then you can just draw it, and it's like, well, it's a dead draw, I guess, because now I just get an extra mana, I guess. Cool, whatever. It's not really what I need when I'm looking for my win con or something like that, or I don't know. Yeah, I always go back and forth with this fucking card, man.
It's a hard one, so I understand where they're coming from when they're saying they're having trouble figuring out what to do with it. Like, I can sympathize.
Yeah. I do like the idea of it, though. Especially with how many cards that kind of tutor something like it out or whatever. It would have to change what Magic does for their precons, though. Because if Soul Ring is in every precon, then it's like, then every precon is technically bracket 3. So then they just stop printing Soul Ring in precons or something like that, or they give you like 101 cards where it's like, oh, if you want to play Soul Ring or whatever, here's the Soul Ring.
Oh man, that will be the day.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, wouldn't it? Early information on data on the commander brackets is very encouraging. Oh, that's good. We're removing the 2 cards from the list of the adding. Okay, the 18. Yeah, that's one that. Those are the 2 they unbanned. I'm just like reading in summary notes or whatever at the bottom here. Yeah, the cards they unbanned are going on the game changers list. No surprise there. We want to do these quarterly check-ins. Next one we're targeting is for late June, early July. Interesting. So we could potentially see either more additions or unlistings from this and around that time. This is a step in the right direction, because I thought with the initial game changers list that there was lacking a lot of cards, and now I feel like they encompassed a lot of them while addressing concerns as to why some are not on the list, and I like their rationale, and we kind of went over it as well. Like cards like Craterhoof Behemoth, while they are game changers, they're not necessarily game changers; they're game enders. It's like you should be allowed to play powerful cards that just win you the game.
So you said they also showed off some new Final Fantasy stuff?
There was a few, I think, that were showed off from the thing or whatever. There was like a secret layer like Torgal card that was just Yoshimaru the Ever Faithful, which I thought was awesome. And I want them to make a new Torgal card. I want them to make a Torgal card for the Final Fantasy set. Look, I want for Final Fantasy 16 references, they got to have Torgal. They got to have Jill, and they got to have Clive. Well, clearly they're going to have Clive. I want them to have a Jill card, and I want them to have a Torgal card. Done deal. It's like...
You just want them to have every card.
I want them to... Like, just make it the biggest set. We're just going to have all the side characters with it and everything like that, too. We'll throw Sidolphus from Final Fantasy 16. Let's have the whole cast from Final Fantasy 13. Let's have... It sounds like we're already having all of the main characters from Final Fantasy 15, because like Gladio got his own card. There will definitely be a Noctis card. I hope there's an Ignis and a Prompto, which I'm assuming there probably is going to, considering that Gladio got his own card.
They're definitely giving a card to that sexy mechanic lady. I cannot remember her name for the life of me.
Sydney?
Sydney, yeah, she's getting a card. Just you wait and see.
Well, and it's like pretty clear to me that it's like, oh, Cloud, Sephiroth, Tifa, Aerith, and like probably Barrett are getting their own cards.
Yeah. They're the big ones, after all.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the big ones. But I'm just like, we just need to give some of these like lesser known ones. Hey, Saz's Chocobo got his own card, so why can't Saz have his own card? Saz is like one of my favorite characters he's one of the cooler characters, in my opinion, from Final Fantasy 13 that is very underutilized. So.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. They just showed like another like Tifa card as well from like I think it would be from the Cloud Precon. That'll be like an alternate commander, considering how similar it is to the Cloud X Soldier card.
Nice.
So it's pretty neat. I assume that it's going pretty soon here, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't they announce like a live stream for when they're going to show off a lot of the Final Fantasy cards in the near future, if I'm not mistaken. So I remember hearing that Ben Starr was hosting it. Join me on PAX East on May 10th for the Magic the Gathering little reveal, and I'm just like, oh, interesting. All right, should we call it there then?
Yeah, we got a hour and a half out of that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I knew there'd be a lot to talk about with this Magic thing or whatever, because I want to go through like a lot of the cards and the reasoning for some of them not being on the game changes, some on them, and I was like, yeah. Honestly, I think this was like really good step for when it comes to Magic, and for its like really understanding how they want this bracket system to be and what cards they want or whatever, and they want to really make sure that like if you're playing game changers, you're going to play bracket 3, and that the people that are just playing very, very, very casual or playing some really, really jank decks actually get their chance to be able to thrive and not be overpowered by powerful cards. So, yeah. So, thank y'all so much for listening or watching to this episode. We talked a lot of Magic, but it was a good time. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube, post these every time we do them, and everything like that. All the links are in the description below, show notes, whatever. And yeah, any final words for you over there?
No.
All right.
If you're listening to us on Spotify, give us a good little rating. That always helps.
Yeah, and tell people. So
tell people. We're always here, always talking about stuff. Always glad to have you.
Exactly. See y'all next time. Bye-bye.